Doom. Hey everybody, this is Rich. Welcome to another time-lapse video. It's been a little while. And I swear, when I was doing this sketch just the other day, I think I did this like 2 days ago. I wasn't even thinking about the fact that there was a Sonic the Hedgehog movie coming out this weekend. It's just a happy little accident, I suppose, but I don't know why I was inspired to do this. Probably because, Sonic is not exactly the toughest thing to draw in the world. Honestly, like this whole sketch probably took me about an hour, from beginning to end. What I did right at the beginning there, you saw me setting up the actual document itself in Photoshop. I set it up as with a canvas of 16 by 9, so 16 inches width, 9 inches height. That's standard for like a desktop widescreen for HD. Normally what I would do is I would go through several different sketches before I decided to start working on anything final, but since this was such a kind of simple design and simple character, and while I have drawn Sonic in the past, I probably haven't drawn him in, since like the 90s at this point. So, no, that's not true. I might have drawn him a couple times after that, but I rarely draw him. And since he is such a simple design, I figured, why not just go from thought in my head down to finished product right out of the gate. I started off with a chalk brush, just doing simple gestures and everything. I like the chalk brushes in Photoshop. They have like a nice opacity to them, very sketchy, and then you could just erase directly over top of them and still have some of that construction line work underneath. They have a nice texture to them as well. And then once I get something nice and tight, I will go in with kind of, as you can see here, with like an ink brush or just a normal round hard brush. So now I'm just doing the line work. But man, I remember when Sonic came out. That was a big deal. I remember getting it for Christmas that year that it came out, and for the Sega Genesis. And it was probably the fastest thing I had ever seen, because you got to figure at that point we were just using Nintendo, and before that just Atari. So everything was very slow. And then the funny thing is, though, if you go back and look at the Sonic the Hedgehog that I remember, actually I was just watching a YouTube video of like the first level. I was like, man, I remember this being a hell of a lot faster when I was a kid. But yeah, it's pretty cool. The movie's coming out this weekend. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to see it, or at least I don't know when I'll be able to see it. A lot of stuff to do. Being an adult, very rarely do I have an extra 2 hours of time plus an added, half hour's worth of sitting through trailers and commercials that I could just spend. But I'd rather be doing stuff like this. So as you see me work through this, you're going to see me zoom in and out quite a bit. To get your bearings a little. When you're too close to a drawing, you tend to not see all of the little imperfections and the warped perspective and everything that you would have. So I like to zoom out, kind of get a lay of the land, go back in, and continue. You'll also see me rotate a lot. Rotate tool is probably one of my favorite tools in Photoshop. Why? I don't know why anyone would not utilize it to its full capabilities. When I'm sitting at a drawing table and I'm actually doing pencil work or ink work or whatever, I'm constantly moving the page. I'm constantly spinning it around, trying to get the best angle to achieve the best lines. And Photoshop lets you do that, so why not do it? Continuing on through here, actually, we're going to start doing some flatting in a couple seconds. Now, when I flatted out, I started with one single color, I think I just started with blue. Let's see in a second. Yeah, there we go. And then what I did was I went on to the ink layer, selected everything, and just kind of deleted all the bits that I didn't want. And now I'm going in and just filling basic colors. So when you're flatting, basic colors are the way to go. In fact, they don't even have to be the color of the actual character. I could have colored him orange if I wanted to. Really, the goal of flats is to be able to select those areas later. That's the big goal when it comes to flatting. And he is looking more and more like Sonic. I like his older design, to be quite honest, and that's not just me being an old school Sonic fan. I don't know. There's just something about him. Like there was a little more like oomph to him. There was this slight seriousness. Not even seriousness. I don't know what it is. I think it's just, it's this like cartoony attitude that I really liked. That I think today's Sonic just doesn't really have. Speaking of the Sonic of yesteryear, man, Sonic back in the day had the best gimmicks. He had, I remember, was it when Sonic and Knuckles came out? So there was the first Sonic game, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and then Sonic and Knuckles. And Sonic and Knuckles it was a cartridge with the flip open top, and you can actually plug any of the Sonic games in and play as the new character Knuckles. And it was incredible. It essentially took all of your old games and turned them into new games. And to me, that was genius. What you saw just now was me trying a little bit of a shadowing experiment where I colored everything in with the shadow color, and then attempted to erase or color blue directly over top of it. I wasn't really feeling it, to be quite honest with you. Sonic I think looks best with kind of a cell shaded look, very little shadow. So I decided to go back in there with kind of a purple color, which I'll actually adjust with the adjustment layers and opacity later, so it'll be more of a darker blue. Which actually, yeah, I just did. So as you can see there, it looks a heck of a lot better than just like laying on almost like a grayish purple. And so I'm going to continue that throughout the rest of the piece. Just go in with the shadow, adjust my layers accordingly, and then I'll do the same thing with the light over top. What I end up doing with the light is I don't use a straight up white. What I'll do is I'll back the white. I'll go to like a yellow color, and then back it down to almost white, and it gives a nice little warmth, a nice little feel to it. Kind of makes it feel like there's an actual like sun or just light source, because usually light sources aren't pure white like that. And then also too with shadows, like you're not using black a lot of times. Shadow is usually the fill color of the area that you're in. So when you're, say, outside in the dark blue is the shadow color a lot of times. So that's a normal that's a pretty major mistake that I see a lot of younger or maybe even just amateur artists make, is they use like a lot of gray and a lot of just black, and they dial down the opacity, but that tends to, I feel like, just wash out the character. When you used to use pure white and pure black like that and then just adjust the opacity, I feel like it dilutes what you're trying to do here. Yeah, we're continuing on. We're just kind of, here I'm adding in some highlights. I will go in with some pure white and just use it sparingly as well. I'll use it in the eyes to kind of make them glisten a little bit, and even in the areas where there is the highest concentration of light, I will actually put little dabs of white in there, just because it makes things pop a little bit more. Yeah, here we go. So we've got the shoes going. And I also love that pose. That was one of the things back in the day that drove me nuts, is when you stood there idle too long during the game, and then Sonic would actually look at the screen at you, and kind of tap his foot like he was waiting. And then sometimes he'd look at his watch and everything. Just wild stuff. It blew my mind when I was a kid. Yeah, all right, here we go with the highlights. Yeah, a little sparingly with that stuff. And I think I'm pretty much done here. Oh yeah, so here I am. I'm just making a shape. Just graphic design wise, it's always good to have kind of a background shape to bring the eye back in. And started off green, and then I think I ended up with like a yellow color, just because it kind of matches, it contrasts with the blue, and even like a little bit with the red. Instead of a pure white background, I went with like a very light gray. That way everything pops a little more. Yeah, there we go. And then the old signature. Didn't like how it looked, so I did it again. Sometimes you just got to redo that stuff, folks. All right, yeah, now, oh, there we go. Yeah, so I ended up cropping it down to a square so I can put it on Instagram. And then the old Rich Smith Robot logo. And that is it. All right, folks, I am going to hit the bricks, and I will see you next time. Enjoy this little visual here, and I'll come back with another video very, very soon. This is one of my goals this year, is to keep up on the YouTube channel. So I will see you all next time.